It's been an uncomfortable night for thousands of Victorians left in the dark after a storm caused widespread damage and flooding that left one person dead. The system dumped hundreds of millimetres of rain and caused flooding. Let's take a look at some of those warnings that are still in place. There are major flood warnings for parts of the Yarra River and also the Thomson River in the state's east. For the Yarra, that major flooding is east of Yarra Glen, marked out in red on the screen there. The rest of the Yarra feeding down into Melbourne can expect minor flooding, and the Thomson in the east is expecting major flooding at Wandocka, northeast of Traralgon in the Gippsland region. Let's go to our reporters now. Nicole Asher is in Traralgon and Talia Olatia in Melbourne. Nicole, to you first. What's the situation there this morning?
Thanks, Joe. Well, since we've been standing here for a couple of hours this morning, the floodwaters have just continued to recede. You can see behind me, when we arrived, they were kind of just behind me and they've just gone further and further back. Last night, just near here, there was a car inundated up to about its roof line, and today a tow truck could get in to tow that away. So the situation's improving pretty dramatically and pretty quickly here in Traralgon, but it means that those people who were evacuated yesterday, so hundreds of people spent the night away from their homes here in Traralgon last night. They will be able to get in to assess the damage.
We'll continue to have a presence in the area. Over the coming days, there is the risk of further rainfall, which may lead to further rises in the area. So we're watching that pretty intently over the next 24 hours, particularly if the need is to warn community again.
Yeah, so Nicole, that pretty dramatic warning came through yesterday. We put it to her about 10:30, the evacuate now order for parts of Traralgon. Is it clear if water actually went through homes, or how many homes water actually went through in that part of town, or you just haven't been able to get in there yet?
Yeah, look, we know that about 200 homes were thought to be under threat, and it's definitely entered some homes. We don't have a number yet, but there was one man I was speaking to who, when he woke up yesterday morning, he thought he had more time when he went to bed. You know, they thought that the peak would come sometime, during the day yesterday, but it really started to rise rapidly in the morning. And he says about 7 o'clock it was kind of lapping at his front doorstep, and he had an inflatable boat and he, blew that up and piled the kids onto it and some suitcases and waded them down the street. And at that point he says that there was quite a tide kind of pushing against their legs as they tried to get up the street. He then passed that boat on to a neighbour who evacuated with her two young kids. So it's become I think that'll be kind of a story we hear again and again as neighbours come to each other's aid. But so far we don't know the exact extent of the damage, and I think as the day warms up and people start to get into those properties, we'll learn more. This particular man said in his house he's just gone back there this morning and they've escaped the worst of the damage. It kind of just got just below floor level, but his neighbours are in worse situations, Joe.
Yeah, we're seeing the picture of at least one home with water through it there. And Nicole, so a bit more rain there today?
Yeah, look, it was spitting this morning, which I think would have been making a few people quite nervous, but it's not. There's nowhere near as much rain as what fell the other day due today. There is a bit more rain over kind of tonight and into the weekend expected, but it's a very different situation. Yesterday or the night before over Mount Borbor, they had nearly 300 mil, so it's just huge amounts of rain, but it is starting to kind of filter through the system, and the warnings have now moved down to Sale, which is southeast of here, and they're expecting that homes could come under threat there tonight.
And Nicole, sadly one man died in this weather system. What happened?
That's right. So down at Woodside, which is southeast of here, a man's body was found in a submerged car. It was members of the public who called the emergency services, having seen the car half submerged in the floodwater. And what we're told what really kind of raised alarm bells for them was the fact that there was a dog on top of the car. So I think it kind of suggested to them that it wasn't empty, that there might be a person inside. And then when police got there, they said that they did discover a man's body. At the time, they said he was possibly aged in his 60s, but they will have been working to formally identify him overnight. We haven't heard anything more yet about who that man could be, but a terrible day for that town site and for his family. But it really reiterates just how dangerous floodwaters can be. Since we've been standing here, we've seen Surf Lifesaving Victoria actually come down and put a drone up to start kind of measuring and mapping the danger spots here in Traralgon. And the emergency services have been reminding people just, look, it might look safe, it looks pretty benign, 9 behind us right here, but you don't know what's under the water. So, under no circumstances go into it.
Okay, let's head to Melbourne now and reporter Talia Alatia. Talia, tell us where you are exactly, and it was the winds that were the big problem in Melbourne rather than the rain?
Yeah, so I'm in Croydon Park here in Croydon. I'm on a rugby oval where you can see behind my right shoulder a huge, I would say 40-metre tree. There's a few of them that line the main street, and a significant part of its trunk and a branch has fallen onto the rugby field. Very lucky that it fell onto the rugby field and not onto the road. But this morning while we've been here, the council has come through, marked off the area. They've also cleaned the debris on the field. And then we'll be moving on to other sporting fields. The person I was talking to said they were on to a job in Ringwood next. But lots of destruction has been caused around this area due to that wild weather on Wednesday night. Someone I was talking to is because of this weather, a lot of power is out. And so he lives in Wonga Park, which is just north of where we are in Croydon. And they were saying that they had to go get a generator last night because they knew they were in for the long haul. And they went to Bayswater, and lots of other people were doing exactly the same thing. Lots of people buying candles as well. So what has happened is that the damaging winds has affected power like all across the state.
Yeah, yesterday they were saying more than 200,000 people without power. Have they got a number still that don't have lights?
Yeah, so even higher than that, the acting Premier, James Merlino, was saying 245,000 properties after the winds didn't have power. Right now they're saying it's more 160,000 around there, but that is a lot of homes without property. And let me tell you, it is 7 degrees where I am in Melbourne, so a lot of people waking up again to really cold and dark houses. And like I said, right across the state, from the west to central Victoria, Daylesford, Trenton, they are on a do not drink the tap water warning at the moment because of a compromised water supply. Reports this morning that the town's tank supply is only at 17%. Metro Melbourne also affected down to Frankston, right down to the Mornington Peninsula and Flinders. But the main issue with power outages is in the east. So from Dandenong to Gippsland, they're suggesting 120,000 properties without homes. So a really big job to reconnect everyone.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it there. Talia Olatia in Melbourne and Nicole Asher reporting from Traralgon.